Musical Talk, the UK's independent musical theatre podcast. Hello and welcome to another edition of Musical Talk. I'm Thos. Now, the title Musical Talk sums up this podcast to a T, and I was wondering what would happen if you added the letter T to the name of a well-known musical film or show. Well, I'm sure that Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers would have had a very different reception if their first film collaboration had been called Flying Down to Riot. But it is possible to add a new letter to an existing title of the show from this year's Edinburgh Festival Fringe to exemplify what you'd get. The show's called Whole, H-O-L-E, but by the simple addition of a W, you are presented with a very satisfying whole, because the show turns out to be excellent. Yes, Musical Talk's back at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe for 2026. It's running from the 7th to the 31st of August, and the festival is well underway with shows aplenty. It is, of course, the largest arts festival in the world, and there's huge numbers of musicals there. And where there are musicals, there is Musical Talk. But the show we're going to be talking about today is a show you can see every day at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe until the 30th. They really are running the full 3-week duration of the Festival Fringe, only not appearing on the 31st. But I think after 3 solid weeks, everyone's allowed a day off. So, the show is called Whole. And more accurately, it's called Whole! And if an exclamation mark was ever appropriate, then it's in the show called Whole. And why is that? Well, let me explain. Or rather, let me read you the original blurb for the show. Plug up thy hole. A religious sect in Nebraska wears butt plugs at all times because they believe a wrathful God shall suck the unplugged up, arse first, to burn on the face of the sun. The crazy thing is, they're right. Whole is an epic love story set in the apocalyptic aftermath of the Great Sucking, when the only people left on Earth are the fanatical Nebraskans and anyone else who happened to be doing butt stuff at the time. Now, you'll very quickly see that we're talking a show with adult themes here, and that the word whole is doing quite a lot of business. But the company behind this show, who call themselves American Sing Song, the initials of which you'll appreciate may in some way thematically link with the content of the show, are in fact great theatre makers. And what's more, they bend all the rules in doing so. You probably will have heard boring people droning on, probably on Musical Talk, about what the rules of musical theatre are. Nonsense. There's no such thing. There are guidelines, there are formulas, but there's no such thing as rules. Even Mr. Sondheim might be mistaken on that. Sorry, blasphemy, I know. But actually it is possible to create musical theatre in lots and lots of different ways, and who is to say which is correct and who is to say which is wrong? It's successful on its artistic merit, and Whole works completely on that basis. It is a great two-hander show. I saw it at last year's Edinburgh Festival Fringe in 2025, and I was stunned by it. It's a great show. It does things which speech marks shouldn't be possible in musical theatre. It breaks all the speech marks rules, and yet it succeeds hand over fist. Probably not the right term, given the title of the show, but you get my drift. It's a slightly saucy show, but it tells a real story. It's a humane story. The story itself is enormous. It's large. It's the size of the solar system, almost literally once you've seen the story. But that doesn't detract from it also being a small, intimate story about real people with real psychologies and ways of living. It's very easy to appreciate, understand, and connect with this story, extraordinary though it is. Now, those words were all hyperbole, but I don't think undeserved. But I'm probably not doing the show justice. So much better will be to hear from the two people who were responsible for Whole! They are Nadja Leonhard-Hooper and Jake Brasch. And here, I'm delighted to say, is a marvellous in-depth conversation that I had with Nadja and Jake at the 2025 Edinburgh Festival Fringe about their hit show Whole! which you can see at this year's Edinburgh Fringe too. Details are after this marvellous conversation. Let's hear from Jake and Nadja. Musical Talk.
I'm Nadja Leonhard-Hooper. I am the book writer, composer, lyricist, and performer of Whole.
And I'm Jake Brasch. I'm the book writer, composer, lyricist. What was your last one? Performer, right. I'm in the play.
What I'm getting very strongly is that you two are the people who are entirely responsible.
Yeah, there's nobody else.
Yeah, exactly. You are entirely responsible for Whole, H-O-L-E, with one. How many exclamation marks are we being offered? One exclamation mark, in good musical tradition. Mm-hmm. The Musical, which is a cracking show. It's an excellent show. It's a terrific show, and I very, very much enjoyed it. But from my point of view, it does some very interesting things, because it's not a traditional musical, or doesn't present as a traditional musical, and that's, I think, one of the things that makes it interesting. The second thing is it's actually genuinely really well written. It's got a really engaging narrative, which actually once you jump on, you can't get off. I was there to the very end. I wanted to know what happened. It was compelling. And so I think there's a great deal to unpack in why Whole is so good a musical. But I think before we explore any of that, we probably need to start with the title and also how the show came to be. Because obviously that is what I would call an in-your-face title. Mm-hmm. And the more you understand what the show is about, and I hope you'll briefly explain between you the rudiments of the plot without giving away any spoilers. How did this show come to be, I suppose, is my rambling opening question.
Mm-hmm. Well, firstly, Whole is a musical about a society in Nebraska who wear butt plugs at all times.
Mm-hmm. They're a religious cult, aren't they?
They're a religious cult.
Their pastor has received a vision from God that if they don't wear butt plugs at all times, they will be sucked into the sky to burn on the face of the sun. And they follow his lead.
And he was right. And when the great sucking comes, they're the only people left on Earth, or so they think.
Mm-hmm. So I think maybe the place to start is just what we do. This is our second musical. Our group name, Together We Are American Sing Song, or ASS. So everything we do is ASS Presents, for better or for worse. And we write big cast musicals and then perform them entirely, just the two of us. Jake plays all the music on a keyboard. I create the sort of sound world of the show on a Foley table of trash and vibrators and plastic cups and
I love the distinction between trash, vibrators and plastic cups. All human life is there, I think.
Yes. They're all there. Actually, somebody asked me the other night, they were like, what do you think is an instrument and what do you think is a prop of what you have on your table?
That's a very good question.
It's a really good question.
And everything is both.
Yes.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, I think, is that it's not only large cast musicals, but impossible musicals. Yeah. Musicals that can't and frankly should never be produced in a traditional way, right?
Yes, and without giving anything away, there is in fact a physical dimension to this piece as it progresses towards its end, which is towards its resolution, which you could only stage if you had a galaxy to do it in.
Oh yeah, you would need billions of dollars.
But that's kind of, our manifesto is like, the only stage we want to play is your mind.
Yes.
That is the only stage that can hold galaxies, is every single person on Earth's imagination.
And it'll all be different as well, rather marvellously.
Someone said to us early, if you look at like The Great Gatsby, all of the stage productions of The Great Gatsby have felt lackluster. Why? Well, because the thing that we can imagine is always going to be more vibrant than the thing that they can put on stage.
Imaginary opulence is always more opulent than stage opulence, particularly on a budget. Even if it's a big Broadway budget, it's never going to be as grand as, the heyday of the 20s.
Right.
In our imagination.
Exactly. So, and musical theater has traditionally been expensive and has gotten ludicrous. To the point that it's just impossible to make. So when we put on our serious hats, which is, once every blue moon, we're like, we really believe in a musical theater of scrappiness and DIY energy, not because it's cheap, but because we believe that that is actually an amazing way to paint an incredibly vibrant and realistic picture in someone's head.
So I'd like to explore the format, shall we call it, in a minute. But American Sing Song has already got a show under its belt. This is your difficult second album, is that the best way of describing it?
Yes.
Kind of. I mean, we wrote our first show is called Geraldine. It's about an octogenarian who breaks out of her nursing home and leads every old human being on Earth into the ocean to have an orgy with the fish. We wrote it during COVID.
Unstageable, did you say?
We started writing it during COVID.
Yeah.
It was really like our love letter to the older folks in our lives who were feeling cooped up, unable to go outside.
Particularly isolated.
Yes, extremely isolated. We just wanted to write something where they were sort of like frisky and free and sexy, and the musical is very Dada and it's very sad, and it's just a love letter to the older people in our lives.
And it was written specifically for the Ensemble Studio Theater, which is the theater where we met in New York. They were doing a podcast, like every cursed theater Zoom podcast adventure was trying to do something to get out into the world.
Of course, it was really the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we wrote it as a radio play. That was how we first began writing. That was the first time we ever wrote anything together. We wrote this completely Dada 20-minute musical.
But that's a penny dropping moment, isn't it?
Yes.
It was.
Yes.
And what happened actually is, gratefully, the whole thing fell apart. It was, we sent it out to a bunch of people and everyone had a different kind of microphone. It sounded horrible.
We were trying to record it with like 6 actors all in their closets during COVID, losing their minds. It was just too much.
I thought by now most actors would have come out of the closet. But
I know.
I accept the point. Yes.
So
the duvet against the wall method.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, so after COVID, Nadja had a slot to perform something at EST, and I bullied her into being like, well, I want to share our musical, but we also did not have a proper score, did not have the time or a music director or anything to really stage it. So we're like, well, what if we just did it, the two of us, for our friends, and played all of the characters?
Mm-hmm.
Like a cabaret piece almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But truly, not even from a performance perspective.
No.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
From the
scripts on music stands, piano, nothing else, just us.
And the minute we did it afterwards, everyone was like, wait, this is what you do.
Yeah.
This is your thing.
This is a something.
Yeah.
A tangible something.
Yeah. And
Isn't that amazing that actually out of adversity has come something really quite remarkable?
Yeah.
I mean, a really great lesson to just make shit with your friends. Just do the weird stuff that
I'd like to see that
you.
in Latin under your crest.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's just like my bestie and I making filthy jokes with each other in a room and coming up with something, accidentally stumbling on something that is like, oh, this is our thing and this is a new form that we're excited to develop together. And we can take it seriously and know that the whole thing is a joke at the same time.
And that's, credit to our director, R.J. Tolan, who we asked to direct that first reading. So he's the first person who ever saw it. And we were sort of sheepish and do you think it's okay for us to do this in front of our friends tomorrow? And he was the first person who was like, this is your show. This is what you must do.
So he crystallized the concept for you almost.
Yes.
A catalyst in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's great, and it went down well. So this is your first show, this is Geraldine. Obviously, you suddenly think, yes, we have got something here. What next?
Well, then we started writing knowing that it would be just the two of us, knowing that we would be passing the ball back and forth.
What the parameters would be, so that had been set by Geraldine.
Exactly.
But did you know what the subject matter would be? Did you know the direction of travel?
So,
what was your kernel of inspiration?
The joke that we make, there are 2 kernels. One was that half of my family are lefty Jews and the other half are evangelicals in Nebraska.
Oh, right, really?
Yes.
All human life is there as well.
It's there. It's there. And one of my aunts was disowning one of her gay kids, and I was furious about it. And I came to Nadja, and she was like, that's interesting that you're thinking about that. What I'm thinking about is...
I had been really wrestling with why is everyone who's abducted by aliens, why do they all report being anally probed? What's going on with that? How can that be? Is it just sort of, somebody said it and it became contagious and it became the myth? What is that about? And so from these 2 very personal places, I would say, we slowly worked towards one another into our Butt Plug musical.
But also, looking at it from that's really interesting, and I love the fact that you were able to find some kind of fusion on those 2 directions, although it's clear that there's a very clear, obvious link immediately, but actually there's also the psychological understanding of the people who do these things and why they do these things. So, it's not just a throwaway, is it? You've got to understand. I mean, that's a really interesting psychological point. What is the cause of the similarity of these stories? Particularly as we know, and indeed you make very plain in the show, that there are a number of holes available for inspection.
Right.
You had a good day in the orifice, darling.
Right.
That kind of thing. And exactly the same with cult behaviour, if I may say as well. Where it forces people to do things which are ultimately inhumane. But presumably people are doing that for what they consider to be the right reason. If from external points of view, that doesn't seem very much the case. There's some really interesting psychology behind this. Sorry, forgive me. I'm not trying to make this overly pompous, although I am British, so it goes with the territory.
Do your worst.
Yes. But I really like the fact that there's the funny, the obvious, the connection, and the weird, and the but why behind. Sorry, please carry on with your.
No, I mean I think that's a really cogent analysis. I mean to me, the religious right they're really kinky. Like they're
obsessed.
They're obsessed. Their relationship to their bodies and to shame and to control, I think, is like bordering on BDSM already, and that is very funny to me and very sad. And it feels like there's a lot of room for us to kind of get in there and intervene in the weirdest way that we know how.
Right. I mean, and the other thing is, from like a spiritual perspective, a line that's repeated in the show is that faith is believing in something that no one can prove. And so these two boys, who are definitely not gay, spend the entire show being like, we know that we have to believe this no matter what the world is telling us. And so this sort of...
They've been indoctrinated, haven't they? But it goes against their own humanity.
And like gaslighting themselves to try to believe something that they don't believe fundamentally at their core. And I think the show is about that dissonance, and it's also about butt jokes.
Yeah.
And that's a tagline waiting to see. Yeah, quite. Psychological dissonance and butt jokes. Jolly good.
Exactly.
But there is so much. I mean, it's interesting. I think we should talk about these characters as well. But we're still in the creation stage as the story is developed. Let there be light.
Let there be light.
As we're talking religious.
I think we should not explain that on the podcast. Just keep in let there be light, and then everyone will be haunted by it.
Or inspired.
Yeah.
So in terms of a narrative, everything's starting to cohere. But how quickly did that story come together? Because you're quite right. The story there's the contextual story, which is the end of the world, or so it seems. And then you've got the human story at the front. I mean, this is the film Titanic, isn't it? You've got the context of a big disaster in that case and this. And in the front of it, there's a relationship forming which is doomed or not doomed or whatever it is. But how is it going to manifest itself, in what way, and resolve itself in the context of the story? So you've got this very real, or so it seems, relationship or potential relationship. They're friends, so it's a genuine relationship. But where is it going? What? They're the only two children left alive in this cultish area. That's what we draw from this. And of course, exactly as you say, they cannot quite swallow everything that's required of them in that cult. So that's an interesting human dilemma immediately. I mean, of course, when actually the pool of opportunity is as small as it is, it also throws people together, it makes tighter bonds. There's so much going on that binds people together, which can also rip them apart. Forgive me, I'm saying everything there's nothing profound in this, but I think it's a really human story in front of a absurdist context, if I can break that down.
That's definitely what that's our hope. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yes, definitely.
Star for me. But no, it's beautifully written and, if I may say, beautifully performed.
Oh, thank you.
So, I mean, forgive me. It is difficult, isn't it, with absurdist pieces sometimes to find how to get a focus or a handle on it for an audience. How do you make it accessible? Because obviously the absurdist stuff is great and funny and terrific. But actually it can be nebulous, difficult to get hold of if you're an audience, and this story really grounds that, as do the later characters who turn up and their situations. I think, the expanding world, as it seems, it's a world that narrows and then expands again. That's sort of its profile. When did you realise you needed to do that, or was that always part of the mix as far as you were concerned?
I mean, I think the joke of ass is that we are rigorous. We know that if we're making something that is this absurd, the most revolutionary thing that we could do is create a rigorously structured musical.
Yes, it's
because people don't know how to deal with that. If we were making something that was like filthy and grotesque and absurd and confusing, people might be like, wow, that was evocative. But if you make something that like is indisputably like a musical they've seen before but grapples with really weird shit, they just are forced to engage.
Yeah.
And like you said at the beginning, like you got onto the story and you were not allowed to get off. That's what we want.
Nor did I
we
want
don't
to.
want an exit ramp. We don't want people to be like, wow, now they've really kind of lost it, or that now they're sort of spinning off. We love story structure. We're really, really serious about like hero's journey, just back to basics, story structure, and that, you know, that's what we realized, and I think that's what we've been realizing in our own separate work too. Is if you give people that structure, they can take the weird. They can go with you wherever you want to go.
Because you've engaged them and they're coming with you. I just want to say on that I think it's this is what elevates you as performers and your company above what this could have been. Two comedians in a room telling their funny story with songs, but it's not. It's two performers or actors telling a musical or singing a musical or performing a musical. There we are. That's all. That covers all bases. So it's definitely a musical, and you're definitely musical theatre stars in my view. But it's elevated above a cabaret. You know, we were talking about cabaret as a kind of early step on the way, perhaps, in Geraldine. But I think, you know, this is a musical. But the format then makes this a very interesting style of musical notwithstanding the rigorous structure that you've put in place to make it a musical with a journey or journeys and structure and development and all the things that are required. I mean, it's genuinely fascinating to sort of pick it apart with you, if you don't mind me saying. Well, let's talk about the format. And this is why it feels very different from another musical, whilst at the same time being absolutely part of the musicals family, or so it seems to me. Its closest relative is a live radio programme being recorded. You know, and that seems to be an ambience you're trying to create. As you say, you've got the props that make sounds and music all on the stage. You've got a piano, and you, Jake, play that, and exactly as you say, Nadja, you play the props to make sounds, the Foley side of things, which is very much how live radio, or even recorded radio, still operates actually. And so, and many of us have seen, regular theatre goers, particularly at the Fringe, will have seen radio shows being recorded or things purporting to be 1940s radio shows and mystery, you know, the kind of thing. We've seen that kind of thing before, so it's a known format. Where it's unusual, and yet unusually successful for musicals, is that, and I genuinely value your view on this, you know, one of the rules, speech marks, for musical theatre is show, don't tell. But in the constrained radio environment, there is an element of tell, don't show. And yet, this subverts speech marks, that rule, and yet is madly successful. Are you aware of that constraint? Is that something you've said, I'm going to ride and break and come out of the other side on? Is it incidental that actually you've just found a different way of formatting a musical that still works very successfully? Because it does make the narrative drive of the piece slightly different to sitting in front of Phantom of the Opera, like just randomly picking a musical from the top of my head.
I mean, I think it's mostly accidental, but I do think image is what we are chasing. We are chasing an idea of, I feel like often with radio plays, that's a part of it, right? Like, we're like, oh, they make the door, so we know there's a door, but what we're trying to do is actually, what can we do to make people see the thing?
Yeah.
And sometimes that...
in their heads.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means...
to make people make the thing.
Right.
To help people make the show.
Yeah.
It's like the show's always happening in their minds, and we are just sort of midwifing it into being.
Midwife's a really good word. Also, you're forging their links.
Totally.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means having stage directions that are just clear, like this person comes into this room. And then sometimes, strangely, we realized that there is a song that I won't give away because it's a big reveal that depends entirely on the audience making an image out of it, and we don't give any narration. And by that point in the show, the thing that people are creating in their mind is so vibrant that they literally start applauding
just because,
just because they saw something change in their own heads. And that, I think, we stumbled upon accidentally, and it's what we've been chasing. And so that's how we look at that. So sometimes it is, weirdly, showing is hard to sort of define in our context because it's not a lot of visuals, but sometimes it's like showing them in their heads, and sometimes it's telling them, put this in your head.
Yeah, that's really interesting. For me, that feels like taking a boat across a river and reaching 10 metres away from the other bank and turning the engine off, and you'll probably still dock or land. That's such an interesting idea, that actually, yes, the world has been created sufficiently in everyone's head by your work that they then finish the visuals, at least.
Something we're learning is like, and what I'm realizing about myself as an audience member is I want to work as an audience member. That's because
you're engaged.
We're little story-making machines, and we don't actually want to have everything fed to us, which is why, social media is sort of this wave of everything just kind of washing over you and coming to you, and it's dulling. It dulls your
It pretends
experience.
To be interactive. It's ultimately quite a passive experience. Yeah.
But I think what audiences, and I think a lot of people sort of underestimate how hard an audience actually wants to work and wants to find and be making the show themselves. That's what we want to do.
And yet that must be a challenge within this format, because there will be people who say, this is a radio program kind of thing happening, and for radio programs so much, they always, you do paint the imagination in your head, but you are being read a story or having a story performed to you. I suppose let's talk about audiences. Have you had audiences which have been more passive than you might have either here at the Fringe or anywhere else? How do you deal with that? Because I think the story is the engaging thing, and therefore you're not going to have that problem too much, but people are people, and there's always going to be a bad audience one day.
I think everyone has loved it, to be fair. Yes. And that's been kind of actually a joke that I make, is that it's sort of prompted a crisis in thinking about everything else that I've ever made, because people just love this shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did we do that we have, but the thing the one piece that I sort of feel misunderstood by is that some folks, even in reviews, have said things like, this sort of like DIY, low budget, we can't wait to see when it's fully staged.
But it's in its correct form, isn't
exactly.
it? Isn't that what it is about?
And that's the thing that makes us feel kind of crazy, is like, wait a minute, there is literally a stage direction that includes all 7 billion people on Earth.
Yes.
And you are trying to I can't wait to see it staged.
I'm just not available on all those days.
And what I think that they're saying is, I saw it.
Yeah.
And I
saw it, and I want other people to see it.
Yes. Yeah. And what I think we're both wrestling with a little bit here is making audience understand that is the final product. We don't want a shinier thing. Actually, it would really get in the way of what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, it does shine.
Yes.
It shines already, but I know what you're saying. You don't want a more tangible, in the traditional sense thing.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't want automation on stage. We don't want to we don't.
That's a really good term. Really good term. Yeah.
We don't want to come out, and we don't want big costume changes. We don't want things that will make you think that they're watching, that what they're seeing is the actual characters in their actual situations. We are evoking them watching the play in their heads. And that's kind of a complicated, even for someone listening to this, I'm sure it's a complicated thing, but it's actually a relatively simple thing when you're watching it.
Well, it's certainly successful, so you've mastered how to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I don't want to underplay your own performance either, though. I'm not. It's not that you come out in your workaday clothing.
No.
You come out in a costume with, and I hope you don't mind me saying, a magnificent symbolic wig each, which adds about a foot to your height as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
And, it changes your centre of gravity, which might be interesting. And between you, you're always active. You perform with each other. You're not narrating a story. You are performing a story. Jake, you're on the piano, so you have to perform and then sort of step forward to your keyboard. And you, Nadja, all your props are on the side, so there's fluidity and movement as well. The eye is drawn back and forth. The props, of course, draw the eye, as indeed you would expect them to do. I think it's a fully fledged performance, but it's a performance which is harnessed to creating another experience rather than what we're used to. Mm-hmm. How much of that sense of having to put a performance on, because you could dial it down in your performances and still get some success, but I think it's really helpful that you are the additive to the petrol that makes it more effective, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, gasoline. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for clarifying. I
had no idea what you were talking
Did you?
about.
Oh, right.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing that I have been experiencing is like, we've been laughing about how I've been so in it. I'm like, I am this oppressed young queer boy that like one of the things that is like a butt joke will get a laugh, and I'll be like, that is not funny. You don't understand.
It's serious to me. Quite.
It's serious to me. And so, I mean, we play it deathly seriously, and I honestly do think it's deathly serious. You know, at its core, it's a queer love story about...
It's sincere.
It's totally sincere.
Totally sincere.
We're not ironists, you know, ironists. You know what I mean? Not ironing. But we mean it. It's not satire. It's not us making fun of things.
It's back to it's humane. It's actually a humane story in this abstract, absurdist context that you've charmingly created.
And I think that, you were talking earlier about constraints and the constraints on the audience. The constraints of how much the audience can see, I think, makes the imagination go crazy. And for us as performers, I think our constraints are really helpful too. I mean, I think it's exciting to watch performers. You know, we're so in it. We're so like these young men realizing that they're in love. We would be jumping and running and dancing across the stage. We would be like, our spirits are doing that, but we have
running
to
through
be
a field of flowers.
We would, but we have to be at our tables. We have to be at the keyboard. You know, we are constrained. We're in this
anchored,
tight
in fact,
little.
aren't you?
Yes, we're anchored, but the spirit wants more, and I think
which is a fairly symbolic piece, by the way. That's also quite. So there's a real parallel and resonance with the plot. Sorry, do carry on.
No, that's it. I mean, that I think that really helps our performance and helps people understand what we're doing.
Now, let's talk about the wigs, because I think it's a marvellous thing. It sort of, first of all, tells you visually, before the show even starts, you come on wearing these... Well, am I allowed to give...
Of course, go for it.
Yeah, there's an extension to your head which adds about a foot, and it is essentially a hair halo, would we call it? I mean, it is a visual representation of a hole. Or if you want, a lavatory seat in the upright position, you know, and lavatories are mentioned for obvious reasons. You know, there are some certain mechanical aspects of the situation that need explaining.
Wow, I'm hoping you write your doctoral thesis about this. I can't wait to read it.
Well, no, forgive me, because it's so well written. Exactly as you said, you know, you pay due care and attention to the creativity and not formula, but the process required to write a good musical is absolutely 100% clear here. This is not a thrown together piece, and that's why it's easy for people like me to come along, you know, essentially parasites come along.
Oh my gosh.
But look at it and spend some time analysing it and enjoying it. I said I took this musical home. That's always a sign of a good musical for me. If I go home and I think about it repeatedly, then it's got something. There's a nugget of something in there that I want to sort of get to and understand and analyse and be able to chop it in all directions and see what it's made of. And that's what this musical has done. But the visual as you appear, I'm going to call it a hair halo. Did you have a term for it yourselves?
Just the whole hair.
The whole hair.
Yeah.
I like that. And it, first of all, it gives it it's immediately absurd. And that has a mechanical function with an audience, certainly a British audience. A British audience, I think, needs license to laugh quite early on. A British audience normally react in two ways to things which are funny. They either, if they feel that they can laugh and they've got some kind of license to laugh, they will laugh throughout. If they haven't been given that license, you'll get what seems like a relatively quiet response from the audience until the very end, when you'll get a very rapturous applause. And both are signs of British appreciation culturally. I was going to ask you how you've found, because it's an international audience you're getting, of course, here at the International Edinburgh Festival Fringe, but the that visual cue of your hair halos lets the audience know immediately that they can laugh. And so you've done something which is really important in a British context, at least, I think. And therefore people suddenly feel that they can release all the humour, which even with this, you know, it's humane and sincere and terribly hilarious. It's very funny. Shall we talk audiences? I mean, how are you finding them? I appreciate they're rapturous because I've been there in the audience and I saw you being mobbed outside, at least on a couple of occasions, here at the Underbelly in Cowgate. Might as well say it. But do you detect differences on different nights? Can you detect when you've got more Americans in? Can you detect when you've got more British people in, or more Scots or English or Welsh or more international? The
biggest marker, the only one that I've really picked up, is when we have queer folks in the audience. It's very different.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so many jokes that are for everyone, and then there are some jokes that are clearly
more coded.
Yeah. and those folks really respond. But other than that, the only real other difference I've noticed is that, you know, the two of us, when we were doing it early in New York, so many folks know us. And so they would come, and like when we kiss at the end, big reveal. They're like, ooh, you know what I mean? And like none of that shit is obviously happening here. It's an audience of folks who don't know us, which has been actually extremely, firstly, affirming, because we're like, oh, we weren't just making shit that our friends thought was funny.
It works when it meets real life, as it were. Yeah.
And then also freeing for me as a performer, because I just feel like and it's also getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. I feel like I am really disappearing into these characters.
Yeah, I don't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah.
Which is the name of your next show.
That's right. The name of our next show, by the way, is Homo Erectus.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I see a line. I see a through line.
Yes.
If you bring it to Edinburgh, I shall see you. Don't worry.
Okay.
That feels like a date.
Yay.
I mean, I think we've been surprised every time someone has come to the show, and I'm like, man, I don't know if you are going to like this. They have liked it.
Yeah.
Moms love the show. Uncles love the show.
Groups of straight men love the show.
Yes, big groups of straight men love the show. It has been really wonderful to just see how actually accessible the show is to so many
Nobody
different
believes
audiences.
us about that, because it's like you say we're writing a musical about butt plugs, and niche is the first word that comes into someone's mind, but it actually is deeply universal.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I haven't seen this show, but there's a show up here called, I think, Why I Stuck a Flare Up My Arse for England or something, which is a footballing thing.
Right.
It turns out that bottoms, let's use the broader term, first of all, it's a universal...
It's the universal whole.
We've all got one.
Exactly.
And secondly, it does seem to appear in alpha male culture as much as it appears in queer culture, as much as it appears in everybody's culture, really. Let's talk about the score, if I may.
Please.
Now, of course, it's a live score. You're both singing it live, of course, as I'd expect. Jake, you're playing the keyboard throughout. But the songs are catchy. They work as songs, structurally. And there's some beautiful lyrical flourishes which I find very delightful, and I'm going to quote one, and there are plenty more, but the one I particularly like is that when the cult first, this is before the Great Sucking, when the cult when the cult finally forms and everybody has to put a butt plug in, sorry, with my British consonants, that sounds a lot more deliberate, butt plug.
No, I love it.
I love it.
That's exactly how it should be said, always.
They're wooden ones, and there's no lubrication. So we get this marvellous song where the lyric is raw, as in that there's a raw butt plug going in without any kind of lubricant or smoother, which is then converted for the... it helps with your accents, if you don't mind me saying, and much less in my accent, but rah, rah. There's a kind... They're cheering and recognising their pain. Edinburgh in action.
Yes.
A man pushing a trolley up a hill slowly on cobbles. Yeah. You heard it here first in stereo. But that usage of raw, as in raw, as in it's I would associate that with an American high school kind of rah rah. It's our team. Even rah rah Rasputin, if you want to go to Boney M, if you know them. But of course, it also represents the pain, and it's delivered in that way. When said, it's raw, as in this is a really rather uncomfortable thing that I'm doing here. So forgive me, I'm labouring that lyric, but I think that's just symbolic of the flourish that you put in between you. This shows craft, as far as I'm concerned. Craft sort of exudes all throughout the piece. Lyrically and musically, how do you work? And then, and it's not just how do you write a song. I'm actually talking slightly bigger than that, in the sense of how do you then leverage a song to do other things, because that's a sign of very clever lyric writing, in my view, that you write something which works in its own right, and then you can sometimes subvert or convert a meaning or a word or a sound into a homonym which you can then take somewhere else for comic effect.
Yeah. I mean, I have a brain full of musical theatre from birth, and Nadja...
You're my kind of person.
Nadja absolutely does not. But what Nadja has is...
Sorry.
We like to joke that Jake sort of came out of the womb obsessed with musicals and has devoted his life. Yes, truly. had devoted his life to musicals, and I was once in a high school production of Anything Goes, and then we found each other.
Yes.
This is a little bit of an
But
exaggeration.
that's almost perfect at one level, though, isn't it? Because that actually gives you a different vantage point. So
yes,
and
exactly.
perspective.
That's what I was going to say, is that, like, Nadja never gets mired into, like, what is the pastiche, or what are we evoking, or what should this be, or is this the blank song, or whatever. It's like, what does the dramatic moment need? Like, Nadja is an amazing dramaturg, and it's just dramaturg, and it's just amazing.
Very good.
Amazing at wordplay. So
I've just spotted.
Yeah, the real answer to the question is that we make each other laugh, right?
Yep.
And we write everything together in order for the most part.
Oh, you do. You start at the beginning and you work
Yes.
along. Well, that's
with some exceptions,
yes,
but
of course,
but so everything is serving the dramatic function. I mean, nothing is written and then we try to incorporate it to, and then I play the keys, but Nadja often has musical ideas, or will even sing an entire melody that then I'll fill in. So it really is
collaborative.
Yeah, it's deeply
very collaborative.
collaborative. And I always, I find it kind of maddening because I am such a freak, I'll read the Sondheim book or read about Rodgers and Hammerstein or whomever, and no one can really give you a straight answer to that question of, like, how you work, because it really is, each thing is different. Sometimes the book gets way out in front of the song and you're like, okay, how do we write the song? Sometimes it's the other way around.
Yeah. Even Gilbert and Sullivan mix it up very occasionally.
Yeah. Right.
If you want to go back a generation and, only 170 years. Or
something.
I mean, the actual physical way that we work is that we get together usually, in one of our living rooms, or if we're lucky, in a rehearsal space with a keyboard or a piano, and we just mess around.
Jam.
For an hour, probably, and nothing happens. And then in an hour and 10 minutes in, suddenly Jake will just play, sort of out of nowhere, the most amazing, catchy chord progression I've ever heard. Here comes the trolley again. Yes.
Clang, clang, clang.
Clang, clang, clang.
I noticed this is a different technique. The gentleman before was pushing. This gentleman is pulling.
I think pulling is the way to go, honestly.
Pulling is the way to go.
There goes the trolley. I mean, Jake will just sing a full line that becomes the heart of the song. That in this way that is, I mean, Jake has so many amazing skills and gifts, and one of my favorites is that he can just improvise 30 seconds of complete dada, and it's stuck in my head for the rest of the day, and it gets stuck in everybody's head.
An earworm. Yeah.
Yes, immediately. It's a really, really special gift.
But it's interesting, we were talking about how it maybe takes an hour to warm up, but actually it's in there, but you need to find the path. There's a labyrinth that takes you to the heart.
Yes.
Where the Minotaur of melody might be found. How's that?
I mean, I feel like that's the thing. Every writer gets to the point where, like, you become a writer when you learn how to, like, get past the thing that feels impossible and just figure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But how then do you work? Obviously, I assume, therefore, once your melody is being developed or coagulating, as it starts to crystallise, might be a better term. How do the lyrics? Do you sort of find those lyrics at the same time, or do you actually wait for a melody to be created and then lyrics can be appended? Obviously, you work together.
The
on that.
way that we actually work is in a shared Google Doc. It is so chaotic. So we both have our computers.
Yeah.
We have a shared Google Doc. I'm writing, usually doing figured bass or chords, like really sort of rudimentary, sort of like sketching stuff out, and Nadja will just have like 20 minutes of silence while Nadja writes ahead, and then I'll be working on like the chorus or something, then we'll go back and we'll play, like, so we're really sort of, and then, so I wouldn't say it's always like, what are we doing together? Like, some person will write out ahead, we will disagree.
We'll sketch, and then once we have the overall shape, we really go like line by line and word by word and discuss everything until we're both laughing, basically.
Yeah.
Until you reach the shore almost again, once again.
Here comes another.
That is so funny.
That must be a pretty strenuous job, I rather think, though. There's no escaping it, is there?
There's another one.
It's a convoy. You lose fewer of them this way.
Yes.
It keeps the shipping lanes safe. So, it's interesting to me that you write very collectively, almost in the cyber world between you, although obviously sometimes you're in the room together, and you write songs in order. But presumably there must be occasions when you have to jettison a song, you realise it's not working, and then go gap fill, or actually no, this isn't the right spot for a song even. So
we have a document that is called Cut from Whole, that is everything that we've, and how many pages is it? Like 125?
Yeah.
Like we have done a lot of revising.
Yes.
this is for the archives, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are some lyrics in there that are, I mean, truly shocking.
As in terrible or brilliant or
Both.
or offending.
Both.
Yeah.
I mean, just so crazy.
We'll look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, remember when we thought that should be in the show?
Yeah.
And I mean, like all things, there are some, it's like that Sondheim thing of like, it's the writing the bad song is fine, but writing the wrong song is devastating. And like there were some of those moments where we like wrote something that was like we both really fucking loved, and then had to be like, well, that makes no sense.
Yes.
Not for this show. Yeah.
Yes.
But the ability to spot that is a skill in its own right. It really is. And sometimes you can take a song that's not going to work and rework it, and sometimes you just have to jettison it, and into the bin it goes, and you start again.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say on our first musical, we wrote a song called Scales of Justice, in which the fish...
This is fish-related stuff, yes.
In which the fish started singing mostly about climate activism, and
they were carping on about it.
it was there you go. And it got to the point where we would do it in the show, like, 3/4 of the way through, and everyone was like, huh?
I mean, truly, it would stop the show, essentially.
But not in the way you're hoping.
No,
Yeah.
because people were just like, what's happening?
So then we cut the song, and later, 4 months later in the process, I'd say, we were looking for a finale, and Nadja on her own took that melody and wrote the most heartbreaking song about grief for our protagonists to sing to end the play. And it's perfect.
But isn't that interesting that you can cannibalise?
Yes.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a bad idea. There's a misplaced idea.
Right.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's terrific. It's rush hour.
It's so funny. Good, he's gone. Yes, I mean, cannibalizing is definitely the name of the game. We are complete cannibals.
Totally.
Constantly.
Yeah. It's true.
However, so the show has been, I think, truly successful here in Edinburgh. Where is the future for Hull, and what is? And you've already said that you've got new plans for American Sing Song. So, the question is, what is next going to be what's the next destination for Hull?
I mean, stay tuned. We sort of are. We have wonderful producers who have ambitions. Broadway.
Yeah. I expected that, rather than the tram shed Carl Shorten. Didn't seem quite so glamorous.
No, we have producers that are hoping to bring it to London, so we're hoping that
good.
might pan out. We definitely want to do a longer run in New York. We'll see. I mean, I think this is our very first Fringe and our kind of debut moment, and it's going super well, but there's a lot of unanswered questions. So if you know any great producers, send them our way, or theaters that want to present us.
Yeah.
But it certainly does have life, doesn't it? So people can contact you if they'd like to find. So how can people contact you? And I guess this is the question about American Sing Song as well, isn't it?
Here comes the dry mixed recycling.
You can reach out to us at American Sing Song on Instagram. We have like 590 followers because we're not fancy yet.
Yeah.
But
At the moment,
yes.
Right.
But reach out to us. I think that's the best way, right?
Yeah.
And also that will presumably keep people in touch with what you're doing and moving on. So it's the best place, is it, to find out what American Sing Song is going to do, not just in relation to Hull, but in Homo erectus and any other ideas you might be bringing to the table.
Definitely.
And also, if you're seeing the show here in Edinburgh and you love it, tell all of your friends, post a review on EdFringe. We are getting a lot of excitement, but we could really use some more press and
it's a hard game in Edinburgh, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
What a crazy thing to do. It's like, what if a medieval city was Times Square for a month and every Elmo wanted you to come to their solo show about their breakup? I mean, that's absolutely
that's Edinburgh,
insane.
yeah.
It's amazing and a gift, and we're so happy to be here, and it's crazy.
Well, we do have a bit more medieval architecture, perhaps, in this country than in America,
sure
for obvious reasons.
It's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear about my first lesbian encounter?
Well, the great thing about Edinburgh is you'll be aware that the new town was built in the 18th century. So
Right.
Yeah.
The newest town.
Yeah. There's a lot of
How
great
could-
work going on here in Edinburgh.
How could there be that many dumpsters?
I don't know.
It's for
It's
the
a
it's for the
mystery.
reviews.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you. And do you have personal websites?
Yes, I'm at jakebrasch.com.
No,
Nadia does not.
I don't. You can contact Jake.
You can
to
contact
get
me
to
and I will find her.
I'm too mysterious to have a website.
Enigmatic.
Or, never mind.
Lazy. You were going to say lazy.
Whole is a terrific show.
Oh,
It's an
thank you.
absolutely stunning show, I think. And actually, I'm prepared to say I think it's a 5-star show.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Thank you so much for spending time talking to me. Whole is marvellous, and you are very talented people, and it's my great pleasure to spend time in your company. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
chatting
so
with
much.
us.
And
This
thank
was
you
fabulous.
for understanding and dissecting the show on such a deep level. It's
Oh.
we don't do that basically ever.
Well, this is
it's-
my great pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Musical Talk. And there we are, Jake Brasch and Nadja Leonhard-Hooper talking about their marvellous show, Whole! And actually, it was a real delight to sit down with them to talk about this sort of convention-busting, in so many different ways, musical. They really knew what they were doing. And what they did was extraordinary. If you're at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe this year, at any of its dates up until the 30th of August, then you might seriously want to consider seeing Whole. It's exactly the kind of show that you would hope to find at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. Experimental and yet absolutely accessible. An absolute success. And don't forget to find out more about this show, and indeed every show at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. Do pop along to edfringe.com. And whilst we're talking about it, here's a recommendation. Don't forget that last year's 5-star Musical Talk pick of the Fringe, The Real Housewives of the Zombie Apocalypse, is on again in Edinburgh. So do pop along to the EdFringe website and make sure you look at that entry too. That show is absolutely worth seeing as well. It's looking like it might well be a bumper year for musicals at this year's Edinburgh Festival Fringe. Let's find out. But for the moment, that brings this episode to an end. So do join us again next week or whenever for another episode about Musical Talk. And next week we will again be talking about shows that you can see at this year's Edinburgh Festival Fringe, the biggest arts festival in the world. So, for the time being then, I'm Thos Ribbits. This is Musical Talk. Pip pip. This episode of Musical Talk edited and presented by Thos Ribbits. Copyright Musical Talk 2026. To find out more about the world of Musical Talk and listen to past episodes, go along to our website www.musicaltalk.co.uk or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favourite podcasts. And follow us on all the usual social media networks.
So kind.
Oh, thank you.
I've got my copy so I can confirm that.
Love.
And just in time for the last tram of the day, I'll.
Yes. You're gonna go get in that. You're gonna go get in the dumpster.
I'm gonna go get
Yeah,
the bin.
they're driving me to
They'll
my
take
next
you to
venue.
your next venue. Yeah.